By Dave Stahl.
It's time to get educated on your Second Amendment rights. Welcome to 2 full hours of Gun Owners Radio. Your hosts Dave Stahl, Joe Drammissi, and Michael Schwartz will teach you about firearms, self-defense, and the laws that affect your rights to keep and bear arms. Visit gunownersradio.com with questions to learn how to become a sponsor of Gun Owners Radio and get involved. Together, we will win. Now here's your hosts, Dave Stahl, Joe Drammissi, and Michael Schwartz on The Answer San Diego.
All right, folks, welcome to Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
Well, hey, folks, you deserve the best tools to defend yourself and your loved ones. The problem is that lawmakers don't understand that criminals don't obey the law. Gun control laws just make it harder for law-abiding citizens to protect themselves. So what can you do about it? You need to join a Second Amendment activist group like Orange County Gun Owners. OCGO makes activism easy. OCGO connects you with the other gun owners in your area. Working together, we're getting more pro-gun officials elected. So join today at orangecountygunowners.com. Go to orangecountygunowners.com and please join today.
Speaking of Orange County Gun Owners,
Yes.
There's a big Orange County Gun Owners event this weekend coming up, well, in a week, next Saturday, and that is Orange County's having a Second Amendment celebration dinner at the Orange Hill Restaurant.
Is it like gun prom?
It's a lot like Gun Prom. Do you remember Gun Prom?
Yep.
It actually is. It's their Gun Prom. Yeah, but it's not as big. San Diego's has grown into a circus, basically, right?
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. How many people you think were there, Jackson?
999.
That's right. That's exactly right.
That's very good. By the way, you buying a table?
Table.
Yeah, so you can invite 7 of your best friends.
Yep.
Come hang out with you. You get a bump for the champagne table? Probably it's a good cause, right?
You're a big champagne guy, right?
Yeah.
More than likely a Red Fanta guy, but fun fact, yesterday night I went to the this new place called I can't remember if it was True Foods or Food Trues.
Yeah.
I drank out of one of those wine glasses.
Yeah.
Did you really?
What did you drink?
Pink lemonade.
Oh, out of a wine glass. That's fancy.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Was it good?
It did tip
Yeah.
over? You did tip it over? It was good?
Yeah. Yeah, pinky out.
Oh, pinky out.
Well, we're going to pinky out. We're going to have to work on, maybe we'll have to add a red Fanta table to Gun Prom. I'm not sure how much that'll
At
cost.
least if nothing else, get them sponsor.
And also, you know how most people hold it the glass by the big part where the drink goes in?
Sure.
Held it by the little tiny handle.
Oh, very fancy. So if you do that, it won't get warm. Your hands make it all warm, but if you're holding it that way, it won't get warm. So that's
Very
A fun fact.
very sophisticated.
Yeah, I think the pinky out requirement is a good one to implement.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
For a
Yeah.
9-year-old.
So anyway, so it's Gun Prom this Saturday. Tickets still on sale. Go to gunprom.com. $99 a ticket. Plenty of tickets on are available.
And that's for Orange County.
It's for Orange County at the Orange Hill Restaurant. $99. We're gonna have all kinds of cool stuff, prizes. And
You gonna be there?
People, and I'm gonna be there, and we'll have all kinds of fun. It'll be a really great event. It's Orange County Gun Owners is growing and growing and growing.
And
so
you don't
come help
have
us
to
grow.
live in Orange County. If you want to come to this one to support, you can come out of San Diego. It's okay.
A lot of people coming from different areas. So yeah, absolutely.
And trust me, if you've not been to Gun Prom, it's just hanging around with a bunch of friends that are all like-minded.
Exactly.
Might even get some surprises.
Exactly.
What else you got?
Don't forget those tuxes.
Yeah, well, maybe. Yeah. Tux optional. You don't have to wear a tux, but a suit. You're wearing a tux, aren't you? For, to Gun Prom. Not right now. Not currently.
Yeah, same as last year, but
That was-
camouflage bow tie, camouflage shoes.
Nice.
He's set.
Top hat and a cane, ready to go.
Do.
Yeah, do you in my memory you had a top hat? Did you have a top hat?
No, I didn't have a top hat or a cane. I just had the suit.
All right.
Have you ever worn a top hat?
No, but hopefully soon I'll wear one.
Well, you ought to wear it to the Gun Prom. Go get down,
There you go.
pop one up.
a camouflage hat, or
Yeah,
just
there you
maybe
go.
like Slash from Guns N' Roses. You could wear one of those hats.
Well, he's wearing boots.
How cool would that be?
You got to get the top hat that folds up, though. Got to be able to pop it shut. and pop
There
it
you
back
go.
open.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing.
So you only get to do it once a year. You got to go all out.
Yeah, heck yeah. You'd be surprised how many people are going to dress up. What, they come as cowboys? They say they.
Yeah.
Usually only see 1 or 2 pair of rattlesnake boots, though.
Yeah, well, that's true. There are the pristine. You know,
It really, you see a pretty wide variety
I
of
know.
people at our gun prom.
you really do. There is no. If you were to say, what's the general look?
There's
You'd
not
go,
one.
Smorgasbord.
You
know?
would, a lot of people would probably make assumptions. There's a lot of cowboy hats and a lot of whatever.
I know.
Not the.
No.
I mean, there are people in cowboy hats. People
But
in.
how many? I bet you to this day. How many have we done now? 5.
Yes, I believe.
I bet that you've walked up and ran into somebody that you knew that you had no idea they were a gun owner or they even cared.
It happens all the time.
Especially at the gun prom.
That's what's one of my favorite things at our Christmas parties.
Yeah.
At our gun prom, at our events, one of my favorite things in the world is seeing a member who, maybe they've been going to the South County meeting, and another member that's been going to the Central meeting, and they both happen to be at the same place, and they go, "Oh my gosh," and maybe they've been going to
You're
church
into
together.
guns. You're into guns.
Yeah, maybe they used to work together.
Yeah.
Maybe they were go to church together, something like that, and they had no idea. That's my very favorite thing. I've seen that a bunch.
It's so much fun too, because it's like breath of fresh air. Somebody I can talk to.
So if you're anywhere near Orange County and you got nothing going on this Saturday, go to gunprom.com, buy a ticket for $99. June 18th is San Diego's gun prom. And gentlemen, we're actually I'm kind of letting the cat out of the bag, but in a couple months, I think you're going to see an Inland Empire gun prom. Not yet, but stay tuned.
Jinx.
No, we don't jinx.
Yeah,
we're good.
you have to buy him a red Fanta.
Yeah. Bubbly.
So go to gunprom.com and look for a ticket for Orange County or San Diego. Coming up on the show, we're going to talk to Kaylee Allen. You guys remember Kaylee? She was, she was involved in an incident up in her high school, and it turned her into an active Second Amendment supporter. And she's got some very interesting things. Did you guys see the Biden? Did you watch the Biden thing, the Biden debacle on Ghost Guns last week?
Oh. Yes.
So she's got a real interesting angle on the on it, and so we're going to have her on the air. We're going to talk more about it, and we're going to talk to.
Did you see it, Joe?
Where
Where he was holding the ghost gun, and
I just can't.
You just can't.
I can't.
And Joe's going to interview Ken Campbell from Gunsite, because Joe, you just got back, right?
We did. Yeah, we were out there all week.
So you're going to talk all about it. You and Nina went, and you're going to have Ken Campbell on. You're going to talk all about it.
That's the plan.
where's Nina?
Right now,
She was the other half of that team. Thought she's supposed to be.
hopefully she's on the other end of the radio listening to this. But
She should be in studio. Just get her perspective of the. Did she shoot?
yeah, she took a
Well,
PCC class.
Then she should be sitting here. Goodness. Okay, tell her.
She's perfect for the
She's
show.
not. She's not getting away. You got another weekend. All right.
Yeah. And then we'll talk to, of course, we're going to have Sam the Gunman. I have a mic drop. We'll talk
You have
to
a mic drop. I love your mic drops.
Thank you.
Oh, they're back.
Yeah, I know they're so
Outstanding.
cool because you
Oh,
put
those
a
things
lot
are
of thought
great.
into them.
Well, we're going to talk
Yeah.
about it's gonna double as information on a victory. We had a victory in La Mesa.
Oh,
Another one.
Yeah. Well, it was another victory. Yeah.
Yeah,
They tried to regulate the storage of firearms in La Mesa, and we won. If not for San Diego County gun owners, La Mesa would have to lock up all their guns, even when they're home, even if they don't have kids. It was this really ridiculous gun regulation. If not for us, it would have passed. We got it killed.
Wow, that is super good news.
So we're going to talk about that and go over all the details and everything. And
like Space Invaders, almost that invader shot out of the park.
exactly right. Space Invaders. I like
Space
that.
Invaders.
Everything old is new again.
Well,
Do you play Space Invaders?
Oh yeah, Dave and Buster's. I sometimes play Space Invaders.
sure.
You and I we got to hang out more off
Yeah,
the
I
show.
know you do.
'Cause that's
Yeah.
right up my alley. Right there.
Yeah, drink milk and just rock it on the games, man.
So last week, our president gave a big dumb speech on ghost guns, and it was ridiculous, as you can guess. And Kaylee Allen's going to come talk about it, a school shooting survivor. She's coming up next to expose some of the propaganda.
But, folks, if you have legal matters that involve firearms, then you need to call California firearm lawyer John Dillon, especially if you have questions on red flag laws, gun registration, gun transportation, or maybe you need to know that your guns are California compliant. Call our trusted firearms attorney, John Dillon. John Dillon specializes in California gun laws. Call 760-642-7150 or just visit the website at dillonlawgp.com. All right.
So like I said, President Biden, we were just talking about it a little bit. President Biden had a press conference. So the anti-gun groups are really, really good at picking one thing, and then that's their thing that they concentrate on, and they hammer it into your ears like it's the worst thing that's ever happened to the world until they get some progress on it. And then at some point they figure out, okay, we've accomplished what we tried to accomplish. We banned whatever we tried to ban, or they move on, or they, chip away and move on to the next thing. So the latest thing is ghost guns. Mm-hmm. And they're actually conflating the two issues. They're conflating ghost guns, which is a term, like a pejorative term for a gun that doesn't have a serial number, and home manufactured guns, which may or may not be a ghost gun, but they're two different things. So they know that ghost guns, that sounds horrible, and people are, they're basically going to get a lot more traction going after ghost guns. But what they're really doing is they're going after home manufactured firearms. And so Biden gave a whole big, long speech on what they're going to do, and the ATF is basically going to redefine what a firearm is, and there's going to be all kinds of regulations. But one of the important things to know about this is all cut and paste from California. And, his vice president is a former senator from California. I mean, this isn't, so all the people that left California and went to Arizona or went to Tennessee or wherever you went and showed your middle finger to California or way out and said, ha, 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 your gun laws are stupid. Okay, well, all those gun laws are coming to find you. They're going national. They're coming to find you. Mm-hmm. So there's no way to run and hide anymore. You have to stand up and fight. But I was talking to my friend Kaylee, and she pointed out something very, very interesting about one of the guests for his press conference. So I wanted to have Kaylee come on and talk about it. Kaylee, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. It's nice to hear from you again. Tell everybody. Let's kind of set it up. Tell everybody who you are. Tell a little bit about the very tragic thing that you went through.
So November 14th, 2019, a gunman walked onto campus and began firing. He had used a ghost gun, and he had killed 2 people, injured 3 others, and then killed himself. And I was there. I performed first aid on a victim and essentially waited what felt like forever for help to arrive.
And as a result, you were already, your parents, your dad was fairly, it was a hobby for him. He owned some firearms, but it essentially, what was the impact on your views on the Second Amendment?
I was not necessarily pro Second Amendment. I felt like I had understood the gun control side of it, and I was almost supportive of it to a certain extent. Firearms kind of scared me quite badly. I didn't want to go shoot them. I pretty much avoided them if I could. And after the shooting, I had really done my research on them, and I had fallen in love with them and the idea of them. And now shooting is a hobby for me.
That's awesome. And you came to give a talk at Gun Prom last year, which we very much appreciate. And you wrote an article for us, and you've been on the air with us. And did you watch the speech with Biden last week?
I did.
And what were your thoughts on that?
So our school had now made national media once again. They had picked the survivor that I had helped from our school to speak there. And I just found it really interesting that, they chose her out of all people from our school. So at the press conference, just to clarify, at the press conference, yeah, he's talking about everything, and how they have people that they bring people and kind of feature them and say, hey, something horrible happened to them, and that's why we need this law or whatever. So the person that they brought on was somebody that somebody they went to school with. Yes.
And tell us about that. What was there? They were at the school when on the day that the shooting happened?
Yeah, she was one of the victims. She was shot. She was actually the victim that I had helped that day.
Wow.
And she is very, very anti-gun. And she essentially told her story and talked about the anti-Second Amendment group she had joined, and then introduced President Biden, who gave his speech.
So what are your feelings on this? Is somebody, you went through the same experience, but you guys came to two different conclusions of, as far as what would have helped. What were your thoughts on that with them using her in that way?
I've seen it on multiple gun speeches that President Biden has made, but as well as other politicians. They typically pick someone who doesn't know a whole lot about the laws that they are talking about. And really her story was just pure emotion. It had absolutely no fact, no solution, or no working solution, I should say. And she went up there and she stirred up a whole bunch of emotion, made people teary-eyed, and then essentially announced her support for Biden's gun laws and walked off. And they always use someone who doesn't know necessarily what they're talking about, which is quite bothersome because, there's a ton of people from my school who would be willing to stand up and say that they don't like what Biden's plan is, and clearly it's not working because a ghost gun was used in our school, and we have these laws here in California. And
which is an excellent point, right? The law here pretty much existed in California. You had to have all your guns had to be serialized for the most part. So it already existed here, but it didn't stop it. No, that was not mentioned.
No, that was not mentioned at all. And I also found it funny because, talking about ghost guns, they almost had to use her because, a majority of school shootings, ghost guns are not used. It is registered firearms that were, already purchased legally from wherever. And we were one of the very few school shootings where a ghost gun was used. Not the only, but one of the only ones that made national attention. And that was their only option for someone to come speak, because the other survivors at our school are not necessarily pro-2A, but they're not anti-2A either. And they can notice unconstitutional gun laws when they see them.
So in other words, it's just not that widespread an issue of people using ghost guns to do these big horrible mass shootings, which there really aren't a whole lot of mass shootings. They very, very few and far between, and someone using a ghost gun to commit that kind of heinous act is even more rare. And so they found like the one person in the nation that they could bring up there to support their laws. That's kind of what you're saying. Even in the shooting, most of the people who are survivors, you're saying, really wouldn't have supported this law. Whether or not, however they view guns or whatever, you're saying that the folks that that are survivors really wouldn't have supported this law.
I think, some of them are in support of some gun laws, but I think when you really get down to the details of these laws, most would be unsupportive of them.
Interesting. And of course, when we
have them.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Say that again, Kaylee.
Especially because we already have these laws in place.
Yeah, and this is the worst part is we keep calling it a law just out of convenience, but really it's not a law. He's the executive branch of government. He's actually not supposed to be changing laws. But in effect that's what he's doing. He's directing the ATF to redefine firearms, which is in and of itself a huge mistake. No matter where you stand on guns, or whether you're a NRA member or a Brady organization member, you should support the idea that we should do things the way that they're spelled out in the Constitution. Which is the executive branch. They don't make the laws. That's the legislative branch.
Would you call that playing by the rule book?
I'd say it was not playing by the rule book.
Right. But that's, I mean, you got to play by the rule book. That's the only way the game needs to be played.
I think it's more gaming the system is what he's doing, because he's kind of following the rules, but not really.
Right.
No.
Right.
So that's interesting, Kaylee. Now, have you ever, just out of curiosity, of course, the other thing is, I don't know this the lady or the young lady that Biden picked, and I don't have anything against her. She went through a horrible experience. I think that it would take a very, very strong person like yourself, Kaylee, to come out of that experience without being overly emotional about a lot of it. So, I'm certainly not picking on her, and, understand her point of view, and my heart goes out to her. I truly am sorry that she had to experience what she had to experience. But I'm just curious, have you ever talked to her? Have you guys ever sat down and said, hey, you know what, let's really talk about this? You and I went through this similar, basically the same experience. I have a different opinion than you. Have you guys ever hashed that out or tried to?
I've tried on multiple occasions with her. She was not someone who wanted to talk about it. She was pretty set in her opinion and didn't want to hear my opinion, and ended up blocking me. I mean, we don't talk at all now, and haven't for well over a year.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Did things get heated? I mean, was there name calling, or she just doesn't like the fact that, other people have different opinions?
No, it really came out during the whole BLM stuff. She, started bashing cops, and I had, just mentioned that cops were probably, despite all of us sitting there, there was not much we could do. And cops coming and clearing the campus, with them being the good guys with guns, were really what saved her life. And
is she going to hang over, or?
I think that's great. Thank you so much, Kaylee. Appreciate you coming on. Appreciate your story very much and everything you do. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, have you ever dreamt about becoming a pilot? Well, make that dream come true at San Diego Flight Training International. We are so excited to welcome San Diego Flight Training International as a new sponsor. Learn to fly, start the adventure of a lifetime in the heart of San Diego, right in Montgomery Field. Getting started is easy, then just give them a call, 858-569-1822. You can learn to fly with STFTI. Call them today, 858-569-1822, and I'll see you in the clouds.
We got to have those guys on. I want to talk about that. You a pilot? You pilot, Joe? You seem like a guy that's taken a flight lesson or two.
No, I never. I was not crazy about those little planes. I felt much more comfortable in the helicopter than I did in the fixed wing planes. So no, I'm not a fan of those.
Oh, all right. Well, we got to have them on and talk about it. So, what are your thoughts, Joe? What do you think about the ghost gun thing that they're going after?
Yeah, again, it's the same thing. It's like you were saying a little bit earlier. They come up with a cool name, ghost guns. Wow, we get a lot of mileage out of that. It's like assault rifle,
right?
And so you come up with a cool name, and you just push the stuff. But I mean, it's not. There's no substance there, and that's they never argue substance. They never take a position on that kind of stuff, because it's I wrote about this. Was it a couple of months ago? We were talking about National Registry or National Gun Register. And, I cited a couple of places in there where the police rarely, if ever, use a registered gun to solve a crime.
Right.
I mean, it just doesn't happen that way. There was one site in there, one reference, I think it was the New York State Police, went all the way back to 1904 up to 2018, and they found 4 cases where a registration number or serial number was used to solve a crime. And one of the 4 cases was iffy. It was debatable. It just doesn't work that way. When they recover guns at crime scenes, it's because the criminal is either dead or injured, or when they recover the gun there, it turns out to be a stolen gun. It never leads them back to a criminal. So it's another nonsense law that does nothing but hurt people. It hurts innocent people, and it does not accomplish. The big goal they always say is to increase public safety, to reduce crime. It does neither of those things. What it does is, like you describe them as bear traps, right? It sets traps for normally law-abiding citizens to inadvertently become criminals. I mean, that's all it does.
And that's not just Joe's opinion. There's actually been a scientific study.
That's right. I'm backed up.
Follow the science.
Science.
They studied California's law, and specifically they studied, all right, well, does it prevent crime to make sure that all guns are registered? And no, it doesn't. It's been proven again and again and again. And it's funny when you talk to people and say, hey, here's the deal, these ghost guns, serialized guns, et cetera, people kind of recoil and go, oh, well, it's not registered. There's no serial number. And I think that gun owners kind of makes people recoil a little bit, no pun intended there. But that's the right answer. The right answer is, hey, why? Why do you want it registered? What does that do? Well, it helps people solve crime. No, it actually doesn't. There's been zero evidence of that.
And actually, there is a reason. And again, we wrote about this before too. It's registration is the precursor to confiscation. I mean, that's the only reason to register fire. The government has no reason to keep track of that kind of stuff. They just don't. And like we're saying, it doesn't do anything for crime. And the other thing too is a lot of times, on the anti-gun side, I mean, a lot of these people on that side, I think, just don't know, and they don't bother to learn things. But the thing that I think is really, I don't know if frustrating is the right word from my point of view, but they don't understand the hobby aspect of this. Everybody, they jump on this. You look at what criminals do with guns. Okay, they kill other people, other criminals, other innocent people, but you never, that's certainly one thing you can do with a tool. I guess, I could use a hammer to hammer nails too. But it's just, there's so much more to the firearms. And, there are a lot of people that like building firearms. And people have been doing that since there have been firearms and people. And, in fact, where we just stayed out in Arizona, the people we stayed with, the guy was showing me, he's making an AR. He was out in the shop machining it because he likes to do that stuff. He likes to work with his hands. He's good with wood. He works with metal stuff. And it's fun. It's a hobby. He's not hurting anyone. He has no plans to hurt anybody with it. And it's unfortunate they attack people like that.
Well, I think if there were, if someone said, hey, look, I'm going to show you how we have, how registering guns and having them serialized, I'm going to show you that they make a significant impact on preventing or solving crime. And we're gonna have extremely bulletproof laws, making sure that we don't use this system to take guns from people. I think I'd say, okay, great. If that's what's happening, if it's really truly not preventing, and you're not using it for confiscation, and it really truly is, taking away or helping to solve crime, I don't think there'd be an argument. But the reality is they're using it to put people in jail who aren't really committing any other crime other than having an unserialized firearm. It's not preventing crime. It's not helping people solve crime. That doesn't make any sense. That truly doesn't make any sense. And for that reason, and the education it's an uphill battle. Trying to get people to understand, hey, look, it's an enormous uphill battle. But I still say that the secret to this whole thing is getting the right people elected. We're not, winning in court is, important. It's great. We're plaintiffs in 5 different lawsuits, but we've got to get the right people elected. Kamala Harris, started local. Now she's the vice president of the United States. She's the one that brought this thing in. It's not a coincidence that the vice president is from California and this is a cut and paste law. Which, by the way, again, not a law. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. That
it's not even a law. He's just changing what the executive branch defines as a firearm, which is probably where they're going to win in court.
Well, the only light at the end of the tunnel that I see is whoever comes in next hopefully will rescind that order because they're not law. They're not cast in stone. It's just his strong tool for the time he's in office.
Which that's probably the faster route.
Yeah.
Is to get a new president elected. That's what we have to go through.
Yeah, well, pretty much just about anybody will fit the bill at this point.
Who do you think? Who do you think?
I would like to see DeSantis.
Yeah, from Florida?
Honest, from Florida. I'd like Trump to be more involved as an advisor, but, not running the show. Use your experience from 4 years and help somebody.
Like help DeSantis win.
Yeah, well,
not run against him. I think if those two run against each other, it's
toast. The Republican Party's done. And I hope they're smart enough to see that, and Trump's ego is small enough to accept it. Because it's really, this is going to be a good test just to see what's he going to put out for it. I think DeSantis could be just as good for the country as Trump, except you just don't get the flair.
He's not as divisive.
No, you can't wait to see what Trump is going to say.
Yeah.
And he says the same thing over and over and over.
Well, and he may be.
What do you think, Joe?
I don't think that. I think my opinion is a little bit different.
Who would you put?
I want to see Trump in there again because he should have been there.
So do I.
He should be there now. And he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
I'm hoping he learned some things from the last 4 years and from that last election.
Right.
I would love to see 4 years of Trump followed by 12 years of DeSantis. I mean, 8 years of DeSantis.
Well, you know what?
That's what I would like to see.
That's a good one.
But, we'll see. I mean, it's anything, and there's always, remember the Thrilla from Manila coming back. Because there's nobody on the Democrats. Even the Democrats don't want to see Joe Biden. I don't think they want to see Kamala Harris. And Hillary is just chomping at the bit.
She's
so you may see a rematch of that, too. It's going to be a very interesting couple of years coming up, I think.
Well, since media controls everything, let that one play out because that's good TV.
Oh, yeah. No, I think that would be great.
There wouldn't be a TV set.
Well, plus you got maybe Twitter under new ownership coming up.
Oh,
so
how exciting is that? Have you been following that at all?
Yeah, I've followed it pretty close.
Oh, please let that happen.
They're just playing. They're playing a game right now, and he's better at the game than they are because it's just him against all these lawyers, all these investors. No, they're going, oh my gosh, he's trying to get in. He's trying to get in.
Teslas are less cool now. I think, right?
Stock went up though.
Yeah,
I was really skeptical. Like when Elon Musk started kind of, and Tesla and everything,
I told my wife, because she does all the investing in the house, because she was looking at Tesla stock. I said, see? She goes, yeah, but they were struggling. I go, that's when you buy. And I don't even play the game, but yeah, she would have.
She said, what do you know about cars?
Yeah, exactly. Well, he didn't know anything. He didn't know anything either. But that was, that's an interesting trail he's blazed. And that's the easiest way to say that.
Well, I was skeptical about him in general. I didn't know if I liked him, but I like him. I think he's
so far so good. I mean, he's speaking up. I like people that speak up and speak their minds and follow their heart. I mean, whether I agree with them or not, I like to see people stand up like that. And he's got the power. He's got the horsepower to stand up and voice his opinion.
Horsepower meaning money.
Money, yeah.
Well, and he doesn't abuse it. It doesn't seem to me. He just seems matter of fact, and everybody listens. Like when they said, well, do you have a plan B? He goes, yes. and that was absolutely perfect because that's what you want out of somebody. And you could tell the guy's in charge. And all the other guys on the other side are running around like little mice in a maze trying to figure out where the cheese went. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's going to be good if it goes that way. It'd be good TV.
Yeah, it'd be good entertainment here.
And he doesn't overstep his bounds. Well, I don't know. Maybe buying Twitter could be described as overstep.
I think
but
that's great.
He doesn't like weigh in on every dang thing, and hey, this is important to him, and so
he'll probably put the right people in place. Is what he'll probably do. He'll buy out contracts, and he'll send all these people that he doesn't want in the organization. And most of them said they'd quit anyway, unless they're making over 6 digits.
Good. Quit.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Go get a real job.
Because really, what are you getting for your money as an employer? So, and all you can do is, I thought when your ratings went into the tank, you're done.
No, CNN's still there.
That's what I just meant.
Can't go any lower.
But I mean, how can they still? I mean, somebody's just bleeding like crazy for ad dollars.
Well, if you
would think,
if you want more information, by the way, just to wrap this up, you want more information on the Biden gun control thing, did a series of interviews last week. So go to our Facebook page, go to facebook.com/SDCGO, or go to the website. We posted up the interviews on the website, and check it out. It's worth it. Don't get all wrapped up in it. We need you to do activism, not just watch a bunch of news. So get involved. San Diego County gun owners, Orange County gun owners, Inland Empire gun owners. Gunsite Academy is one of the nation's leading firearms training facilities. CEO of Gunsite, Ken Campbell, is next.
But first, does it, take too much time to clean your gun?
Yeah.
Well, clean, lube, protect your guns faster with Seal One. Seal One CLP Plus is natural, non-toxic, environmentally friendly. It even tastes good. Nah, it's not true. to clean your guns easier and faster. One and done with Seal One. Ask for it by name at your local gun shop. If you don't have it, hey, tell them to get some. They're going to appreciate it. Go to the website, seal1.com. That's seal1.com. All right, Mike, who you got?
Joe.
Oh, Joe, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we get to hear from Free America today. We have Ken Campbell on from Gunsite Academy in Paulden, Arizona. Ken, are you there?
You've been that's how I start things out. Free America calling. So
excellent.
How
are you there, Ken? You breaking up? Yeah, it looks like you're breaking up a little bit.
Okay, sorry. I'm on my cell phone. I'm at a friend's house for Easter dinner.
Well,
can you hear me any better yet?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Keep that left leg lifted. You're good. You're doing good.
So celebrating Easter, that's great. Because I think we can still do that. Can we still do that? Yeah, I think we have Easter still. But outstanding, Ken. So just want to tell everybody, I just saw you, Nina and I, my wife and I, spent the week out there at Gunsite. And, man, what a fabulous experience that was. And I just wanted to ask you about some of that because you were watching. You were in all the different classes and things working around there. And Nina just had a fantastic time. And it was interesting because I was wondering, is this going to be really good or really bad? Because, being new to the pistol caliber carbine, I was wondering, is 5 days going to be too overwhelming and it's not going to be a great experience, or is it going to be a really great experience? And she had two just fantastic instructors, and she loved the whole thing. So talk a little bit about that, Ken.
Sure. Hey, it was great having both of you there, especially your bride. I fired the gate guard for letting you in, but we were really happy. It's a great class. It's always fun when Gunsite family brings their real family. And I'll tell you, Joe, there's no greater honor when you ask us to train the most precious people in your lives. And we take that to heart. So Nina she was in the pistol caliber carbine class. That's about a 46-hour class. There's so many of those now, the Rugers, the Kel-Tecs, and so on. And she just toughed it out. We had Colonel Randy Watt, retired Special Forces Colonel, and Skylar Clute, a game guide, and so on. And they just they had a great week. The weather was pretty decent, a little windy, but man, they just picked up those little carbines and ran with them and just kept on going. So it was a good week.
Well, and that's what I have to say about Gunsite too, because she's kind of new. Just a little bit of the backstory. She discovered the pistol caliber carbine. She did a Women on Target event a year or two ago, and she got to shoot a PCC gun, and she was just raving about it. And so I thought, okay, I'll get her one for Christmas and see how it goes. And, she shoots now probably a couple of times a month with it. And then she was asking, is there any place that, that has PCC classes? And I checked the Gunsite, and you guys had one. And so we came out there with it. And it was interesting because, as it turned out, pretty much everybody else in the class was pretty experienced. But the instructors were just so good. And like everybody, like gun people everywhere, everybody was really friendly. Everybody was really helpful. And they made her feel really comfortable, which is just a big deal because with the instructors at Gunsite, everybody's the real deal. Everybody's, a 30-year law enforcement or military or just a tremendous amount of background. And it does not feel like that there at all. It's not intimidating or anything. And you guys just do a great job with that.
Well, now she's come away not just being able to shoot her carbine, but she can fight with it. She can do the manipulations. If it fails to fire, she knows automatically what to do and how to go about doing that. She knows what she can do with it out to distance. As Clint Eastwood said, a man's got to know his limitations. She knows the limitations she has on this weapon system, and she had a whole lot of fun. Every time I was down there, and you know me, I'm downrange a couple times a day, she was smiling like the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland. And that just makes my heart leap with joy when we get people that we know are a little bit nervous about being there, but they find out you're getting the show with dinner.
Yeah, and that was it too. So it was very challenging for her. The something I didn't think about before. The gun was pretty heavy for her, and the instructors worked with her. She discovered how valuable gloves could be. Because I think between the really dry air and all the manipulations with the gun, her fingers were a little bit torn up from that. But again, she was not overwhelmed. She didn't give up, and that's just a credit to the instructors and all the staff there at Gunsite. I mean, you guys just do such a great job.
Well, thank you. That's what we do here. Whether you come with zero skill set or you come with quite a bit of skill set, we're going to make you both run faster and jump higher. Excuse me, and that's what we're known for. We're gonna teach you to make that weapon system work to the best of your ability and the best of our ability. Now, don't set yourself short here, because you had a class and you had a good time too.
Oh, I did, yeah, and we were going to get into that one too, because the other thing too, that you hear, the philosophy, at Gunsite, is it's not a shooting school. I mean, it is obviously, but it's a fighting school more. I mean, that's the skill that they're trying to teach people there, and I think that was pretty much the philosophy that Colonel Cooper started with. Correct?
We focus on mindset, gun handling, and marksmanship, but that all comes down to how you're going to fight with that weapon system, whether it's that pistol caliber carbine, a pistol, rifle, shotgun, carbine, edged weapons. We're going to teach you to fight with that weapon system so you can better take care of yourself, your family, your community, your nation, whatever your background happens to be.
Yeah, and that's kind of, and that's what I try to emphasize, to students out here, because I teach the concealed carry qualification classes out here. And, I try to emphasize to students, take it seriously, get this kind of training, save up, spend a week at Gunsite each year or something like that, and really learn that stuff. Because the class I was in, we'll talk a little bit more about it after the break, but it was the close quarter pistols class. And, they talked about moving through crowds, working your way, through people with a loved one. We did strikes, which I haven't thrown an elbow or a fist in years. But just a lot of different things like that. And it's just really a fighting survival kind of school. And it was just great. And we had another tremendous instructor in our class as well. And
that Jeff Dooley, your class, he's one of the group we call the Tennessee Mafia. We've got several instructors that come out of the Nashville metro area. And he's one of those guys. I'll tell you, I'm an old Indiana University grad back in the Bobby Knight days. And regardless whether you want to think about his antics, he was one heck of a coach. And I remember hearing an interview he had, and they said, well, Coach, how are you preparing your team for Ohio State or Michigan State, or whoever it happens to be? And he looked, and you think, oh, boy, here it comes. And it did. There was a lot of philosophy behind it. He basically said, I don't train my guys to play Michigan State. I set the standard. I set who this mythical standard will be, and it's always going to be greater than our opponent. And that's what we try to do here. We don't know whether it's going to be some minor league bad guy or some major league bad guy. We're going to set the goal so that you're going to be able to deal with either or both when, not if, it happens to you, under that same Bobby Knight philosophy.
Yeah, and that, and on top of the philosophy at the school too, it's just the gun people and the people that come out to Gunsite are just fantastic. I mean, we had a small class; we only had 5 people in our class. The one woman that was in our class has been there, I think she said 17 times. She's taken 17 classes with Gunsite, yeah. And and some of the people, the anti-gunners and stuff, they've got this view of that. Yeah, this bunch of rednecks in the desert, but like there were 2 other men in the class. One was an emergency room doctor. There was another gentleman that was a very successful retired business person. The third guy, I think, was a mid-level manager with Intel. So you get a real cross-section of society out there, but really just great people. I mean, every class I've been in, everybody that was in there with me was fantastic.
Yeah, I've been coming to Gunsite since 1990. Either as a student or an instructor. And I can count on one hand the number of, let's just call them jerks, that I've met there, and I'm not using all my fingers. Because, again, the people that come, I took a newspaper editor in my prior life back in Indiana. I took a newspaper editor to one of the big gun shows in Indianapolis. He'd never been to a gun show, and he wasn't really anti-gun, but he wasn't pro-gun. And he wrote in his column after we went that he had never been around a more polite group of people and just nice to each other and kind and so on. But that's what gun people are. We're responsible, decent people, law-abiding, and that's unfortunately that's what a lot of people aren't nowadays. So it is almost a surprise when people find nice people.
Yeah, I know that was my experience too with when I got into the because I'm relatively new compared to everybody else. You know, I've been doing it for 30 or 40 years, but one of the misconceptions I had, I guess, I had this mental image of what gun people were going to be like, and you know, I was thinking kind of this cross between Rambo and Duck Dynasty or something like that. And you see some people like that, just like you see them at the mall or at the beach. But, you know, for the most part, I mean, just people are great with the guns. It's really good. It's just a really great experience.
Well, what the term I use for them is earth people. The vast majority of our clients are earth people, just the people you live next door to, the people in a couple of cubicles down from you at work, people you run into at the grocery store. They're average people that just take it seriously about wanting to be able to protect themselves.
And yeah, and it's great too. You see more and more of that kind of stuff now. And like I said, the class that I took, I mean, we talked about a whole lot of just practical stuff, you know, applied to the guns and the concealed carry and everything. Hey, Ken, if you can hang on through the break, I want to talk about more of the specialty classes and the gas match when we come back.
All right. You know, a lot of companies are really frustrated with their websites. Raise your hands. It looks old, it's hard to update, and it's not generated any leads. Sage Tree gets it. Since 2005, Sage Tree has been helping companies with websites that look great, work great, and they get the leads. Stop being embarrassed by your website and get one that you can be proud of and share. So contact Sage Tree today to get a website that makes the iPhone ring. Getting started is super easy. Go to sagetree.com and schedule a call. Go to sagetree.com and press the schedule a call button. All right, so we're going back to Ken.
We are. So we're back here with Ken Campbell, the CEO of Gunsite Training Academy out in Paulden, Arizona. So, Ken, when we were, I don't know, too, did you notice if you were listening to the answer part of the fade in, the fade out there, the guy doing the answer is Action Jackson.
Yeah.
And Jackson you're 8, Jackson, is that right?
Actually 9.
9.
Yes.
Oh, so my mistake.
We had a birthday.
But Jackson shoots every week. He's got his Glock handgun. I think he trains with on Wednesdays every week. Is that right?
Yep.
And then working your way up to bigger things. Is that true?
Yep.
So you may be seeing Jackson out there at Gunsite in a few years.
Why don't you ask him your question?
Also, what's your favorite gun?
That's a good question.
What's mine?
Yeah.
What's my favorite gun? Well, it's a Colt Gunsite 1911 pistol. I like the commander size, lightweight, in 45 ACP.
Interesting.
You'll have to check that out.
12 years old, when you turn about 12 years old, we offer a youth class, the full 5-day 250 pistol class for young men and young women ages 12 to 16 years old. It's the exact same class that me, you, Joe, Dave would take, except it's only amongst your own peers. And it is just a great week seeing all these young Americans, these young men and women, strapping those pistols on and learning the awesome responsibility of them. So you keep that in mind, those three short years. You're 9 now, I guess you said. So 3 short years, you'd be eligible.
I almost wish it was tomorrow.
Oh, but it'll be well worth the wait. You keep shooting. You'll impress this guy once you get over there and find out how good you can shoot.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And he's getting trained. That's the beauty of it. Is it's not just going to the range and shooting his gun. He's actually going through training. He's got his trainer. What's her name?
Thomas.
Oh, it's Thomas. I'm sorry. I thought it was a girl. Cool.
Well, you teach young people to be responsible with firearms. They're going to be responsible with drinking and driving, dating, and life. And there's great programs out there, 4-H Shooting Sports, Appleseed Project, and so on. And if you've got some background there, you need to be volunteering for those projects. We're hosting Appleseed events here at Gunsite later this year. We've got the Young Marines coming back. We've got a church group through Colonel Freddie Blish that's kind of an offshoot of the Boy Scouts, where we're hosting those young men and women. It's just a great thing. They are the future of our country, and they need to be taught up now so they can represent us with the Second Amendment, the Bill of Rights, and the Constitution.
Outstanding. So, Kelly, jot this down. Mom's in the studio here with us, too. So you got 3 years, Gunsite.
She's already signed him up.
But what is that?
She already signed him up.
Outstanding. So, actually, this is a good thing because I wanted you to talk a little bit about the specialty classes that you have out at Gunsite, because I know it's not just shooting guns there. I guess there's a number of different kinds of classes that you guys run out there. Can you talk about those a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. Now, to take the 250 pistol class, it's numbered like a college class, is the bread and butter class, and that's the prerequisite that opens up the doors for many other pistol classes. But we do offer other things. Tactical medicine. When we first started doing this 25 years ago, it was based on more of a wartime model. Now it's a 2-day class based on an active shooter model. Something bad happens at work or in the shopping mall, you shelter in place. What are you going to do for an hour, that golden hour to keep somebody alive? So we've got that class. It's offered on the weekends. So maybe you're coming to take a class. You can do this on the front end or the back end of the class.
That's I hadn't thought of that because I'm registered for that one. I'll see you out there in September, I think, for that. But I hadn't thought about sticking something on the front end or the back end. Good job, Ken.
That's yeah. Well, maybe we'll do good one of these days. I don't know. But yeah, it's a great idea in there. We've got in helping you. You may be able to use it as wilderness medicine. But again, something happens. It gives you 2 solid days. Dr. Steve Temerlin's our instructor for that. He's a firearms instructor with us also, but he's a retired Navy doc that worked for Special Operations Command. I believe he did 5 tours. So he's speaking from real world experience, but he's just a very soft-spoken, kind-hearted guy that really gets his points driven across. We do edged weapons. There's a lot of places where you can't carry a firearm, but you can carry a pocket knife of some sort. So we've got John Hutchison, Jeff Dooley, and Steve Tarani. And Steve's a very well-known name in the defensive tactics community. They all come and teach 2-day edged weapons courses. The course you just took, the close quarters pistol class, that's just not all shooting, as you mentioned. It's some pushing and shoving and striking and punching and so on, because the answer is not always going to be your pistol. It may be something else. So we offer a variety. You know, if you go to gunsite.com, Gunsite, gunsite.com, and look on our classes, there's a cornucopia classes, and we also travel around the country and offer them. We offer off-site courses in Colorado and Indiana, in South Carolina, Nashville, Tennessee. We're always looking for different venues. We're talking with some folks possibly in Texas. We'd love to get a venue in California again. We used to teach out there. But sometimes it's challenging because, well, especially with the firearms, because we want to teach drawing from the holster, and some ranges won't allow that, and so on and so on. But if you've got a range that you think will allow that, you contact me, Ken at gunsite.com. I'll put you in touch with our training coordinator. We'll try to sort something out and come and do a 2 or 3 day class in your neighborhood.
Well, and that's great. I would love to do that out here someplace. The other thing too, I was going to ask you, something that's open for former students is the gas match. Could you tell folks a little bit about that?
Right, the Gunsite Alumni Shoot. It's a social engagement slightly interrupted by gunfire. It's a 1-day shooting match the first Saturday in October. We donate the ranges. Our great instructors donate their travel and time. And the monies we raise, 95% of it go to the Jeff Cooper Legacy Foundation, a 501c3 operated by the Cooper's daughters and granddaughter that does scholarships. And then about 5% of the money go to the Yavapai County Friends of the NRA dinners, where we donate guns and prizes and such. But you have to have a pistol class in order to be able to attend the gas match. But it starts at 7:30 in the morning with presentation of the colors. By 0800, we're firing rounds downrange. There's 10 stages, plus what's called the Cooper Cup that's included in your match fee, plus a great hot dog, hamburger, barbecue at lunch. And then in the evening, we have a big cowboy barbecue, sit-down cowboy barbecue. The prize table is heaped with prizes by our great sponsors like Double Tap Ammo, Ruger, Mossberg, Hog Holsters, and on. You know, when you start listing sponsors, you always end up forgetting some folks.
Mm-hmm.
But our prize table is heaped with great prizes, so everybody wins prizes. We do side matches. Mossberg, Van Comp, and Remington will donate a shotgun, so you'll throw down $10 and you'll shoot what's called a Dozier drill. Well, Joe, if you're the quickest time until Dave shows up and he throws down $10 and outshoots you. So throw down $10 more and outshoot him. And the winner, the quickest time, wins that gun. We'll have different rifles, Daniel's Defense, and so on. We'll have them out on the rifle range, and we'll have tannerite at 100. You'll get one shot at the tannerite at 100. If you blow it up, your name goes in the hat, and we draw the name. So it's a fun thing. Everybody wins stuff, and the monies go to a 501c3.
All right, buddy. Hey, man, it's always good talking to you. Stay in touch. Keep up the good work, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Since 2011, Professor Yamane has studied guns, especially the new self-defense-oriented core of American gun culture called Gun Culture 2.0. More with Professor Yamane after this.
Do you have jewelry you don't wear anymore? Well, Leo Hamill just doesn't sell jewelry. They buy and your jewelry, your diamonds, gold, silver, flatware, coins, maybe a Swiss watch or two for the best possible prices. And they pay you right on the spot. They'll even buy them whether they work or not, or the piece is broken. Here's an idea. Why not sell the jewelry or watch that you haven't been wearing or doesn't work and go buy a gun and shoot it? Way more fun. So when you sell to Leo Hamill, not only will you get the best deal, you'll also be supporting the Second Amendment. Support the companies that support the 2A. Call 619-299-1500. Or you can visit their website at leohamill.com to find a jewelry buyer located near you. Always get awesome service at Leo's, 619-299-1500.
Yeah, Leo's is the best.
Right.
And Leo Fit Labs, right next to Leo's jewelry store, is very, very cool if you're looking for a high-tech place to work out. Okay, so Professor David Yamane, sociology professor at Wake Forest University. Professor, are you there?
I am here. Thanks so much for having me. Happy Easter to everybody.
Happy Easter.
Thank
Thanks
you
for coming on. So let's start with a real basic question. What's the difference between sociology and psychology?
Well, I think psychology studies more what goes on inside of a person, their psyche, their character, sometimes their cognitive dispositions, and I think sociology is much more concerned about what goes on between people.
Interesting. So more study of how people act in groups and how groups act with other groups. Does that kind of sum it up a little bit?
Yeah, I think, groups, organizations, institutions, large-scale processes like globalization, culture, all of those things that kind of transcend the level of the individual.
Wow. So what was your interest? What sparked your interest in becoming a sociology professor?
Well, I had originally intended to go into the foreign service back when the Soviet Union still existed, and we had a Cold War, and nuclear war seemed like an ever-present reality. And then I got to Washington, D.C., realized it was a little bit too rough for me, and so I fled into the ivory tower and could satisfy a lot of my interests studying sociology without getting my hands bloody.
Wow. Talk about that. What do you mean? There's a lot to ask about that, actually. So what do you mean it was Washington, D.C. would you say it was a little rough?
Well, politics, real politics, the kinds of, decisions you have to make, the kind of things you have to do in order to, protect the national interests of the United States was a little bit beyond what my small town idealistic self was prepared for.
And you said ivory tower. Are you describing academia?
Yeah, I think it's a place where you can retreat from some of those messy realities a little bit and stand back from the fray and try to gain a little bit of understanding and maybe inform the people who are in the arena duking it out.
So how do you bridge the gap between the ivory tower and the trenches?
Well, for me, and I'd say in terms of my actual work on gun culture is I try to, get out of the ivory tower, get out into the world and observe what people are doing, how they're doing it, why they're doing it. And, so I guess the difference is I'm not trying to influence what people are doing. I'm not trying to convince people to do this rather than that. I'm really just trying to understand why what makes people do what they do? Why does that make sense to them? And I think that's kind of a distinctive approach I bring to the issue of gun culture, since a lot of people approach gun culture, especially from, an academic perspective, with, a little bit of at arm's distance, not trying to understand it, but only in their own terms, from their own perspectives, and not really doing a great job of understanding it from the perspective of the people who are participants. And if I can continue, I'd say, one of the things that allows me, I think, to get a little bit more of an insider's perspective is around the same time I started studying gun culture, I also became a gun owner myself. And so I think that's a big part of my approach, is having lived 40 years of my life never seeing, touching, or firing a gun, to in my 40s firing a gun for the first time, becoming a gun owner, becoming a concealed carry permit holder, and then really immersing myself into gun culture from that perspective. So it's kind of an insider-outsider perspective. And
that's actually was going to be my next question. What's the most effective way? If you show up with a clipboard, people act very differently. So what is the most effective way to observe, groups? You just kind of touched on it with gun culture in general, but, what's the most effective way to observe a group?
I think that you have to really sort of find the right balance between participation and observation. I think participation alone gives you some perspective, but if you get too immersed in a situation, you can't stand back and see what's going on. Same, other side of that coin is observation alone, never actually engaging in the behavior that you're trying to understand, also kind of keeps you at somewhat of a remove from what's going on. So, I always try to balance. I've, spent about 800 hours observing various gun training, gun conferences, gun shows, SHOT Show, NRA show. And sometimes I actively, like if I'm at a course, sometimes I'll take that course. Other times I'll just observe. It's funny that you had Ken Campbell on, because, I did go out to Gunsite and observe their 250 pistol course, but I didn't participate at all. It would have been a bit too costly for me to jump in there. And so I didn't have the experience of taking that course, but I was there the entire time for 5 days observing. And there were some things, you can appreciate if you're observing and not just worrying about, when am I on the line? Do I have enough magazines loaded? How am I shooting? So, I think that was a great experience for me, although I'd love to go back and actually take the course.
Wasn't there a sociology term for understanding by doing, or something along this? Verstehen, isn't that the word?
Yeah, I think that's a kind of interpretive understanding. It comes out of the German tradition of humanistic social science, and I think that's a great way to approach things. I think we see a lot of the people who are well-intentioned. They really want to try to understand guns and gun owners, but because they don't really have any sense of the lived experience of gun owners, they'll ask, for example, survey questions that don't really make sense to a gun owner. They use terminology that doesn't make sense to gun owners, and so I think that at least some understanding of what makes sense to the people you're studying is a minimum requirement for doing good research.
So when you go to SHOT Show or any gun show, or you go to any gun event, whether it's wherever you go, and you're going to study gun culture, what does that mean? Like, what are you looking for when you observe gun owners?
Yeah, so I think when I talk about culture, I use a kind of standard definition. There's not a single definition of culture, but I think practically for me, it has to do with the beliefs, the values, the norms, and the practices of the people who are engaged in a particular activity. So for me, you attach that anything having to do with guns that I'm trying to understand, those beliefs, values, norms, and practices around guns. At SHOT Show, I'm looking at the types of guns that are being sold, how they're being sold, the representations of gun owners that come out in those shows. Same thing with, the NRA show. Who's there? Why are they there? What are they hoping to gain? What sort of seminars is the NRA putting on? And, how does that represent the current state and possible future of gun culture.
So, Professor Yamane, I have just a question. I want to go back a little bit. You said you spent the first 40 years of your life, not really having any contact at all with guns, and now you've progressed all the way up through a concealed carrier. So, I wanted to ask you how that happened, or how you worked in it. Was there a specific incident or something that you experienced, or did you kind of just slowly, gradually move into it, or how did that work?
Yeah, well, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, so it's kind of a gun-safe blue bubble. And you get into sociology, this is, the blueness of the blue bubble, gets even clearer. And so that kind of followed me around until I got to North Carolina. And then I started noticing, people who I knew, tennis buddies, IT guys, real estate agents, all, had guns. I started seeing billboards for gun stores and signs for concealed carry classes. I started watching, by accident, Top Shot on the History Channel. So, the kind of reality of guns was just sort of dawning on me at the time, which I think for a lot of people who are involved with guns, it's, they would be shocked that you could go 42 years of your life and not really realize that there were guns out there. But, that was my reality. And so, I started, guns moved onto my radar, and that kind of combined also with a moment I had kind of a frightening interaction I had in the parking lot of my apartment complex when I had my kids with me. And I realized kind of at that time, wow, I have really no idea of how I would protect my kids or myself if I ever needed to. And again, that's a sort of privilege of my life that I never, until I was 42 years old, really thought about my own or my family's security. So, those two things kind of came together to, bring the possibility of guns into my life. And, the first time I shot a gun, I was actually more just trying to figure out how they worked, how to make them safe. I was more out of fear than of interest. But in that first experience, I had, a great time. I found it challenging and interesting. And so, from there.
Dr. Yamane,
yeah.
we're going to get you your own radio show. You're really good. But can you hang with us? Hey, folks, PRMI Mortgage, primeres.com/Alpine. Hey, are you in the military? Are you looking for help for a VA loan? Well, if you're looking to buy, refi, or if you're just considering a reverse mortgage, you can call our local mortgage guy that you can trust. Call Chris Wiley at PRMI Mortgage. For nearly 25 years, Chris has been helping local San Diegans with all their mortgage needs. Give Chris Wiley a call, 619-722-1303 at primeres.com/Alpine.
All right, we're talking to sociology professor at Wake Forest University, David Yamane. We're talking about gun culture. Tell us about, what is gun culture 2.0?
Yeah, so gun culture 2.0 is a term that I stole from Michael Bain to describe the evolution of America's historic gun culture to having as its core self-defense. So, I think that self-defense has always been part of American gun culture, but it's only in the last several decades that it's really come to be the major aspect of that culture.
What was the major aspect before that, in your opinion?
Yeah, so I characterize gun culture 1.0 as being centered in really recreational hunting and recreational and competitive target shooting.
And now it's self-defense. I've definitely noticed that as well. In fact, I was thinking when you were talking about how one of the reasons you became a gun owner and started carrying is, because something happened to you and, you realize, geez, I can't defend myself. I've been a gun nut since I was a kid. I just really enjoyed it. I loved the hobby. I loved movies about it. I couldn't wait to be a gun owner. I just thought it was neat. It was just very, very interesting to me. I started carrying daily about 2 years ago, I think, if I'm doing the math right. And within weeks, I remember it occurring to me that I've been going my whole life completely unable to defend myself. If something happened, if something really truly happened, my best case scenario is that I could remember some of the boxing lessons I took when I was a kid. And I realized, wow, I'm enormously vulnerable. You know, my eyes were opened. And I was what situation could I handle as far as self-defense, you know? Not that that's always the answer, but when it needs to be the answer, there's only one answer. So unbelievably vulnerable. And I think that people are coming to that same conclusion, especially when COVID happened and the mostly peaceful protests happened. People started coming to the same conclusion that, you know, all the political rhetoric kind of flew out the window, you know, about, 10-day wait periods and whatever and this, that, and the other thing. People just said, I need to protect myself. And the thing that makes the most amount of sense is a firearm. So what do you think, what do you think that change came from, or what are you seeing that is making that change happen?
No, I think, you know, the real seeds of gun culture 2.0 were in the 1960s, where we saw some interesting parallels actually to what we saw in 2020, which was a great deal of social unrest, a lot of social uncertainty as society was changing, and perceptions of rising crime rates. And so, you know, I think that became the impetus for a shift among people who were already in gun culture to start thinking about placing a greater emphasis on self-defense. So you see, and again, with Ken Campbell being on, this is very timely, you know, the rise of the civilian gun training industry in the 1970s with the founding of Gunsite, and then that rolls into the sort of shall issue concealed carry movement in the 1980s, and then all of the things that happen in the culture with the expansion of training and concealed carry courses and guns that were easy to carry and all of the accessories that you need to do that, defensive ammo, you know, and it just sort of builds on itself. And then, you know, the more that becomes normalized, the easier it is for people who are in a situation like I was, for whom guns were just barely on the radar, is to think, hey, I have this problem. What might be a solution to that problem? In guns, you know, gun ownership for defensive purposes becomes a sensible answer to that. And as you said, this is exactly what we saw in 2020 and 2021 with social unrest, social uncertainty, political instability, and a lot of new and what I would call non-traditional gun owners got into the game.
Now we stream live over YouTube, and one of our watchers wants to know who is more curious about the other side. Are the anti-gunners more curious about the pro-gunners, or are the pro-gunners more curious about the anti-gunners?
I mean, honestly, I'm going to call that one a draw. I think that neither side, you know, in terms of the hardcore anti-gun, hardcore pro-gun, don't really listen. Neither side listens to the other. You know, I think that that's unfortunate because a lot of people are in the middle. You know, a lot of people are what I would call gun curious. You know, they don't currently own guns, but they're not opposed to owning guns in the future. And, you know, those people tend to kind of get lost in the yelling back and forth.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've seen it firsthand a lot. In fact, I think one of the big advantages we have is that it's a lot more fun to shoot a gun than it is to ban a gun. So we tend to do well with the folks in the middle. But I know exactly what you're talking about. So studying gun culture and, you know, seeing gun culture 2.0 and you know, kind of becoming part of gun culture, what are some conclusions you've come to, or what are some observations you've made about gun culture?
I think one of the biggest things, and again, this is borne out in the last couple of years in particular, is that, you know, self-defense is a universal concern. You know, I think gun culture 1.0, that, you know, hunting, you know, appeals to people from certain backgrounds, people from certain geographical areas, recreational target shooting, I think the same thing, you know, but the need for self-defense is something that everybody has. Not everybody will meet that need through guns, but potentially anybody could. So I think gun culture 2.0 is much more inclusive. And, you know, when we see people pouring into gun ownership and at record levels, it's not surprising that a lot of those people are women, racial minorities, people from the LGBT community, you know, people who are not what people traditionally think of as the face of gun owners. So, you know, the gun culture 2.0 really is changing the face of gun ownership.
Now, as a sociologist, do you make, I don't know, maybe for lack of a better term, do you make judgment calls? You know, do you look at gun culture 2.0, and do you look at gun owners as a group? Is it good, or is that your job?
I mean, I don't think it's my job, though. I do, I spend a lot of my time in dialogue with people who really only focus on the negative outcomes with guns, because the, fields of the social sciences, public health, these people tend to focus on the things that are going wrong. So I do spend a lot of my time in dialogue with those people and trying to emphasize, the normality of gun ownership, the fact that most gun owners don't have, problems, that most gun owners are actually concerned to prevent negative outcomes, that they want to be responsible. So in that sense, I guess, that could be interpreted as saying, guns are good. I actually use the term guns are normal because I think that's more of a, kind of social scientific concept of normality as opposed to deviance. So I try to stay pretty politically neutral, especially. I think it's important for me to be able to, speak to both sides, or maybe it's better to say all sides of the issue, since there's a lot of nuance there. And, there are plenty of people out there to carry the political torches. And, to the extent that I am a gun owner and a concealed carrier, I appreciate the fact that there are people out there, fighting for my ability to do that.
What state are you in?
Part of my work.
Wake Forest is in Pennsylvania. Wait, where's Wake Forest?
North Carolina.
I was real close.
Well, yeah.
He doesn't get out much.
So North Carolina is
if I lived in San Diego, I wouldn't leave San Diego either.
North Carolina is really very friendly to CCW, so you don't have any problems there. You're normal. You're in your environment, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's we have a required 8-hour course. You have to shoot. I should know this off the top of my head. 30 rounds. At targets that most people can't miss if they tried. I think the course is pretty. It's good. I learned from the course, but it's it's not. I'd say it's in the middle for shall issue states in terms of what you have to do to get a permit.
And what advice
we also do still have pistol purchase permits in North Carolina, so that's more on the restrictive end.
What advice do you have for folks in gun culture when it comes to doing a better job of playing well with others? What do you think we should be doing better?
I think it was Tony Simon says go 60%, right? Don't meet people halfway. Go a little bit further in terms of being open, and I'm always all about kind of trying to build bridges where I can as opposed to walls. So to be as welcoming as you can to people, even people who you might see as very anti-gun. As I think you had said earlier that there's no anti-gun gun range.
Right.
That if you can get people to understand why you own guns, even if it doesn't make sense to them, you may help them to understand why it makes sense to you. I think that's where some of these wins can take place, especially trying to capture that middle ground. There are a lot of people in the United States who are not gun owners, but who are sympathetic to gun ownership and gun rights. And, if you only focus on people who are already bought into the cause, you're losing out on quite a few people.
I think an anti-gun gun range would be a golf course. I think that's what that would be. So
I sold out from John Hopman, by the way. I have to give credit where credit is due.
So I don't know. I go back and forth on that. I think that there is so much to be done within the pro-gun culture in organizing and getting people active that I frequently make the case, don't even mess with anti-gun people. Why spend all that time trying to convince them of something? Why not spend that same amount of time getting pro-gun people, or people that are bought into and agree with us, get them active, because so few of us are.
Yeah, And I think that's a fair point. I saw something very interesting because when I saw all of these new people coming into gun ownership, I thought, yeah, they're gun owners, but that doesn't mean that, their politics are going to follow or their views of policy are going to follow. But I saw a recent report from the National Opinion Research Center that said that new gun owners' views of the importance of concealed carry rights really align with existing gun owners, which
that's awesome.
I thought was surprising. Yeah.
Right. David, you were extremely interesting. Yeah. Can we have you back on a lot more often? That was a fascinating conversation.
I love to talk about guns. I'll come back anytime we can work it out.
Great, thank you.
All right. Folks, Orange County, Saturday, April 23rd, you can go to the gun prom. And if you do miss it, which would be a terrible thing to have happen, you can come back to the San Diego Gun Prom on June 18th at Town and Country, Mission Valley. When it comes to Second Amendment celebration dinners, Gun Prom is first on your list. And I'm telling you, it is amazing. Like-minded people, you need to come down.
He could have had you read it. That would have been mean.
Yeah, right. I know.
All righty. So it's time for everybody's favorite segment, Stump My Nephew. Sam the Gunman is my nephew, and we found out years ago that he's extremely good with gun trivia. So if you send us a question that has to do with gun ownership, firearms, whatever, history.
Did you see that?
That sounded like horror screaming.
I think it was a ghost.
Oh, my gosh. It went right at you, too.
It did hit me right. Yeah. All right. Sorry about that,
Sam. If you send us a question and we read it on the air, we'll get you a hat or a shirt. If you stump my nephew, we'll get you a special prize. Last special prize was a couple of tickets to Gun Prom. Plus, I think we sent some cool stuff. It was somebody from like Illinois that stumped him. So, Sam, you there?
Yeah. How are you guys?
Good, man. How are you?
All right. How's everything there?
I think everything's pretty good. I don't think you're going to be happy with the question today.
No.
Unless you get it right, then it'll be fine. But if there's, I don't know, they might throw a flag on this play because it's a little weird. But well, without further ado, Action Jackson, what's the question?
All right. Lester from Carlsbad asks, where can you get a gun and license in exchange for a vasectomy?
Did you get that, Sam?
It sounded like a mic drop, if you want my honest opinion.
Say that again?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You want to?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, so Lester from Carlsbad wants to know, where can you get a gun license in exchange for a vasectomy?
What country could that be?
Well, okay, first of all, I know it's not the United States because we don't actually have a licensing program for ownership. We have a licensing program for dealers. I'm going to guess somewhere in Europe, first of all, because many European countries, if not all of them, most European countries have some kind of licensing program. I'm going to say not Switzerland, not Germany, not Finland, not the Czech Republic, not the United Kingdom. Let's see, thinking countries with a high birth rate.
You're on the right track there.
You're definitely on the right track.
By the way.
I love this logic. This is great.
We're
walking right through.
Out loud, no less.
You're almost like me at this point because I think out loud.
So by that token, it might not be in Europe then. So then I'm starting to think some country like Brazil or somewhere in sub-Saharan Africa, but I don't know foreign gun laws all that well.
Mm-hmm. You don't?
So,
oh my goodness!
Keep going. You're working through the logic.
Yeah.
This is
high birth
you are
rate.
Absolutely right. I do not like this question at all.
High birth rate.
Yeah, stay with the high birth rate approach there.
High birth rate.
I'm going to say Vietnam.
It is not Vietnam, unfortunately. I can see why with vasectomy that you would think European. But no, it wasn't.
That wasn't a joke. Was
Dad
it?
joke.
Was that a joke? Did you try to throw a zinger in?
The correct answer is actually India.
Your older sister just started yelling out.
I just heard your manager is. Yeah, I'm probably going to get some hate mail from your manager.
That's right. Whoop, that's it. That's right.
As gun culture spreads in India, local governments have offered to fast-track firearms licenses if men have vasectomies. This was reported by the LA Times in 2012. Let's see.
Offered, yes.
The men.
Deal accepted.
Let's see, official. 1 year after it started, men in one of India's most violent regions who underwent the procedure in order to arm themselves for protection are still waiting for their permits. So apparently they're not real efficient. But let's see.
The Indian bureaucracy is notoriously inefficient.
Right, and the people that have had it done feel like they've been tricked.
Yeah, so, Gupta, a guy named Gupta said, I underwent the operation only for the gun license. The announcement appears to have been a trick. He's not very happy with it. Okay, not exactly a traditional
question.
No.
Firearms, gun-related.
But you know what that did? That gave a fascinating, if brief, glimpse into how the mind of Sam the Gunman works.
Boy,
that's what we were going for.
That was a journey.
That was worth it.
And
that's a compliment, by the way. We're not bagging on you. That was a compliment listening to you walk through this piece by piece to get to an end result. That was very good.
And the background Yelp shows everybody how much fun I have annoying my sister.
Oh, is that your sister Yelp?
That was her.
Sister Yelp?
Oh, I recognize that Yelp.
Come through on that end?
Yeah, oh yeah, loud and clear.
So, all right, well, there you go. He stumped you. We'll give him the prize. We'll give him the hat, the shirt, and maybe we'll give him some. He's in Carlsbad. We'll give Lester some gun prom tickets. I don't disagree with your frustration with this question, but I still think it was extremely interesting, and I thought that your working through it was also very interesting.
It was an interesting question. I will concede that point, Lester. Thank you very much for writing in.
Good old Lester from Carlsbad.
Yeehaw.
All right, buddy. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. See you next week. Awesome job as always.
Yeah, as always, thanks very much for having me on. Oh, and is that Carlsbad, California, or Carlsbad, New Mexico?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm assuming it's San Diego. It's Carlsbad, California.
We'll take it.
We'll double check.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
the one that's far less cavernous.
Yes, exactly. Hey, it's a caller.
All right, cool. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. All right. So now it's time for everyone's second favorite, or maybe it's their third favorite segment, this week's Mic Drop. Mic Drop. So last week, the city of La Mesa decided to vote on a regulation that would require people to store all their firearms either locked up or inoperable inside their home, whether or not they have kids, unless they're actually touching the firearm. This is the same regulation that the city of San Diego passed and the same regulation that the county of San Diego passed that, of course, only applies to the unincorporated areas. We, fortunately, San Diego County gun owners, got it defeated, and we're very, very proud of that. It was defeated at a 3-2 vote, and that was thanks to our members. And what I mean by that is our members just last fall helped get Laura Lothian elected. Without Laura Lothian, this thing would have passed, and you would have the regulation in La Mesa, and it would continue to spread throughout San Diego. Fortunately, Laura Lothian led the charge, helped it get defeated, but San Diego County gun owners weren't done there. You also helped there was one swing vote. There was Bill Baber and Laura Lothian, who were absolutely convinced that this was a bad regulation. There was Colin Parent and Jack Shue, who were convinced it was a good regulation, and then the mayor was right in the center. And thanks to our members who sent emails and made phone calls politely explaining why it was bad for La Mesa to get involved in a national issue like this and how it wasn't safe and wasn't a good idea, the mayor went our way. Colin Parent and Jack Shue, you guys should be absolutely ashamed. This is a ridiculous attempt to get an ineffective victim disarmament program installed in La Mesa. La Mesa has all kinds of problems, and gun storage isn't one of them, but that didn't stop you guys. And I think it's the best punishment is to keep them in office and make sure that they have a 3-2 majority in favor of the Second Amendment, so that Jack Shue and Colin Parent can just sit there in obscurity, not getting anything of any substance passed, but still having to go to every meeting and waste their time. We certainly don't want them out in the general public spreading their ridiculousness. Let them just sit there on the dais and make sure that we can count to 3 every single time. I can't tell you how absolutely ridiculous it was that they would go up on the dais and talk about this and try to convince people this was going to help kids. And that's what they always do. They turn it into an emotional issue rather than a functional one and say, oh, gee, think of the kids, think of the kids. There are already laws in California regarding kids and firearms. This regulation wouldn't have changed anything. All it would have done was prevented a single person, single woman, from having a gun available in order for her to defend herself. It's just another way to put more people in jail. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm glad. Congratulations, San Diego County gun owners and all the members that helped. Thank you very much. And Colin and Jack, just sit there and think about what you've done. Absolutely ridiculous. I can't tell you how happy we all are that you failed. And I hope you just sit there in obscurity, getting outvoted every time. And that is this week's Mic Drop.
Mic Drop.
Okay, well, shall we close her?
There you go.
I don't have to go 386 miles an hour.
Nope.
Folks, you could subscribe to our show and give us a 5-star review. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify. Hit as many as you can because the more you get, our sponsors love it. And go check out our sponsors like San Diego County, Orange County, and Inland Empire gun owners, the Dillon Law Group, PRMI Mortgage, Sage Tree Digital Marketing, Seal One, It Doesn't Smell, Leo Hamill's Fine Jewelers, San Diego Flight Training International, and a real big thanks out to Joe Drammissi, Michael Schwartz, Sam the Gunman, and Action Jackson, and don't forget Mr. Brendan Thomas, who keeps us on the air. I want to thank you all, folks. Keep Second Amendment in your mind and join San Diego County gun owners. Go to the website, joinstcgo.org. Give some help. And, hey, maybe we'll see you at the banquet. Check us out. I guess we got a taped show for Bob Siegel. But you can sit back and listen because they're always entertaining on FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.